Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. That's right, podcast. My name's Jeff.
It's not the Mount Rushmore supermarket.
No,
We're not welcoming you to that.
Not Mount Rushmore cement company. No, we are the Mount Rushmore, and we're not the Mount Rushmore Clubhouse channel. Have you been on Clubhouse? It's like some app where people are just talking. It's like a walkie-talkie. Somebody left a walkie-talkie on the table, and everybody's talking at the same time.
That sounds awful. That sounds like an actual worst nightmare for me.
It's horrifying. It's like somebody left the phone and it's like a party line. Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff and I'm joined as always by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
You know the drill. We talk about stuff and we rank it. And this episode, I have chosen a topic because I want to hear what these guys say about it. The Mount Rushmore of fictional shoes. Fictional shoes.
Jeff, why did you think of this one?
Well, thank you for asking, Richard. Shoes are fascinating items that we hold very close. I happen to be personally supporting the production of a musical about a princess who goes to the ball and leaves behind her one magical shoe. And so I've been editing this, and people are singing about things about the shoe and about the this and the that, and so that was something chief on my mind. And then I thought about how many shoes there are in famous movies and TV shows and probably novels and things like that that have some import, whether it's magic or meaning or something like that, or mysticalness. So.
Love it.
Yeah, next week will be gloves. After that,
and handkerchiefs, pocket watches,
cravats,
the monocle.
The monocle. This episode is always we were being sponsored by Magical Accessories sales channel thing. Okay, all right. So
Jeff, before we get started, I don't know who's going to go first, but I would just like first that to get us on the right foot. Is that okay?
Yes.
I would like to say that we say a quick prayer to bless this podcast to Saint Hubbins, the patron saint of quality footwear.
Yes.
Okay. So, dear Saint Hubbins, blessed be thy name on this night. May our arches never ache. May our laces never break. Please watch over our souls and our souls. Amen.
Amen. Oh, that was awesome.
I feel so much better.
That was just like in church where I pretend to pray, like at a wedding or something, when everybody says, now we pray, and like, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It set the tone perfectly. Okay, so Michael, you go first.
Ah, fuck. All right. My first choice is the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. Or
also on my list.
Wow. Awesome.
Oh, good. Or if you want to kind of go by the book, silver slippers. But the very probably the most iconic piece of footwear ever captured on film. The ruby slippers were changed from silver to ruby because of the introduction of Technicolor. So that they would be more eye-catching and be something that would really stand out against, everything in that movie is just it's just a cornucopia of color. But the red slippers just really pop against the Yellow Brick Road and against the Emerald City and just her light kind of corn silk blue dress. And they're just the shoe. They're like the movie shoe. If there's a shoe in the movies, those are the shoes. They have
the shoe business.
They have it's there's no business like it. No business I know. They within the film and within the book itself, they're like this kind of Chekhov's gun quality where they're introduced early on, and it's revealed later on. Oh yeah, you could have used these magic shoes to do whatever you want. Whatever.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, by the way.
Glinda is pretty terrible. She is. I mean, I know that the Wicked Witch is chasing her around trying to get these shoes that belong to her sister back, but Glinda is kind of like, I don't know what her deal is. I've been thinking about her. She just like pops in out of nowhere. It's just like, Oh, these shoes are on your foot now. Now, bitch, suck it, witch.
Well, we're really balming on this podcast lately, aren't we? Because didn't we have a Cowardly Lion last?
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
You know,
I love it. Now to think about it, it was the silver slippers. That's what it was.
Yes.
originally in like the
Okay.
Frankel Balm
Yeah.
stores. Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
there
they only changed them to ruby to take advantage of
to be
Technicolor.
that Technicolor? Boy, I want to be a studio head to just like say, no, he's not going to be this thing. I want to change it to be this other thing. Like he's not going to be the Silver Surfer. We want him to be the Purple Surfer because Prince wrote a song for the movie. Do you think that wasn't the ounce that like the silver standard or the gold standard like a big part of that Baum novel? I think there was something like Oz was, some people say it was a little bit of a reference to the U.S. shifting to the gold standard or something like that. But then I've also heard,
and then the talking line was a reference to
to prohibition.
Okay, yeah, of
the
course.
different political currents. But that's funny because silver being a precious metal. I don't know if we were on the silver standard before. That's interesting. So that's a good one. So that was when you
Richard chose it too.
Yeah. Joint choice. I really liked it because of I liked it because of that idea of them deciding to change it from silver to ruby just to take advantage of this wacky thing called color.
Yeah.
In films.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is just a fad, by the way. It was just a fad.
They've kind of existed. There's only like 5 or 6 kind of existing pairs that are still remaining around. And there's a pair of them in the Smithsonian. There's, pairs that exist out there kind of in private collections. There's it's just like this, it is the most sought after, if one was like a crazy movie collector and had the chance, like this is like the one thing that people would possibly want it. I think it just kind of reaches that like iconic status. If they didn't, if one were to be able to get one or a pair, which I don't think you can. Can.
Wow, that's the ruby slippers and Nicolas Cage's jacket and Gone in 60 Seconds.
Those two.
Big movie, bro. Okay, Manfredi, what's your first choice?
Oh, my second choice.
Second choice, thank you.
Get the program.
Sorry, I gotta wake up.
My second choice. I hate to tell you this, Jeff.
Oh no!
But I believe that your story for your story that you're working up for your thing may already be taken.
Okay. Because
there's a little story called Cinderella.
Ah, okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Never heard of it.
There are, I'm sure, unintentional similarities with what you're describing.
Okay.
For your show. No, so Cinderella's glass slipper, which should be excuse me, guys. Cinderella's glass slipper, which it should be pointed out, were originally they're supposed to be in the original fairy tale version of it, fur slippers, which makes a lot more sense because I can't imagine that going to a ball and dancing all night in a pair of glass slippers would be terribly comfortable.
Yeah, that'd be a nightmare.
It'd be awful. But when they did the translation, the word for fur and the word for glass are very similar. And so it appears that it may have been just misinterpreted.
Wow. That's fat. Does that seem like there was a little greater likelihood of some magical person giving you fur slippers? Like I would think probably half the slippers around were made out of fur back in the day.
Yeah, I would imagine that fur was a popular choice for everything from shoes to underwear to to just anything else you could think of.
Like a ladle.
Sure. Dinner plates. Yeah.
Dinner plates.
And go ahead. I was going to say, and I just love this idea that the Wicked Stepsisters, and this is obviously not from the Disney version, but from the fairy tale version again, were willing to lop off parts of their feet to try and make their feet fit into this goddamn slipper.
Well, you're going to be Mrs. Prince, after that, you could buy new feet.
Yeah, what's a couple of toes if you're rich
Yeah.
and powerful? Yeah, I suppose.
The portent that shoes are afforded in some of these stores, I think, is really interesting. Like in that story, this person's actual identity is based on their ability to fit inside of this glass, unmovable glass slipper. I would think a fur thing would just kind of just mush around no matter what.
Yeah, it would be more like OJ's glove. Like you could make it fit
Yeah.
or not fit depending on if you wanted to
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, like an isotoner. I think however, though, like, did you ever see? I don't know if it's in anybody's list. Summersby, just that. It was like a novel that turned into like a Richard Gere
Oh
movie.
yeah, I
Yeah,
remember the movie. Yeah.
but like shoes were handmade for an individual and based on a last shape that was traced from their foot. So if somebody had a last, so shoes were custom then. So
Right.
it would make sense that that shoe would only fit that person, or it fit much fewer people than the shoes that we have.
Yeah, I've
now.
always wondered. It just seems like it was just dumb luck that someone else didn't happen to have the same size shoe as Cinderella.
Yeah.
That he tried it on all around the
Yeah.
village before he got to her.
I love in Cinderella, the prince says to all the kings, like footmen and guards, go thee into the kingdom and entreat all the ladies in the kingdom, speak with all the women of the kingdom. And these guys have to act like they weren't already just kind of talking to the women of the kingdom all the time.
Right.
How are we going to do that? Just go up and say hi and buy them a drink, maybe?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, where are we just going to go out and just talk to some random ladies? I don't know how that works.
I want to see your feet.
Yeah,
That's always a good pickup line, by the way.
I do appreciate that these most perfect fitting pair of shoes for Cinderella. One just falls off.
Yeah.
She's just walking down the steps and they fall off. Fucking shitty piece of shit. And also, like, what in the Disney version, all of her all of her dress and the coach and everything is kind of transmogrified, to borrow from Calvin and Hobbes, into something else. Or like her dress, at the stroke of midnight, her dress returns back to rags. The coach, everything kind of gets reduced back. But like her party favor, the thing that she gets to keep is these glass slippers. How come they don't get turned back into like the rags that she wears on her feet? That's what should happen. He should be walking down just trying to put a rag on some ladies, some awful thing. But I guess
I love that you're using the Bruce Banner's Hulk pants analogy. Like, how come those pants don't tear off? Okay, all right. So Michael, what's your second choice?
My second choice is the Nike Mag, the self-tying shoes from Back to the Future 2.
Cool.
Sure.
And what I like about these shoes, the look of them is just ridiculous. Whenever someone from the 80s tries to just figure out what the far-flung future looks like, it just looks like the 80s some more.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter what movie you watch. If you watch like Total Recall, if you watch The Running Man, I mean, I know those are Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but they all just kind of look like they're set like 100 years in the future, 50 years in the future, and all just kind of looks like later 1989.
Yeah, looks looks like the mall food court from later. Yeah.
But the Nike Mag sneakers that Marty McFly Jr. wears, or I guess Marty McFly wears them. I don't know if his son wears them. He must, since he's wearing the same clothes. I love that the sense is, it's like a Jetsons future where things are just kind of easier.
Uh-huh.
Like, they finally solved a very difficult problem of tying your shoe. They're form-fitting, they fit to your feet. And it's just such a nonsensical, like, I don't know, thing that is quasi-futuristic, but not that futuristic. And they just, they look really fun and cool and dopey at the same time. They have all these like weird bubbly elements that now you would see in like a Kanye West shoe. They have go ahead, Jeff, you're gonna say something?
No, I was just saying I've seen the first movie a couple times. I am
Yeah.
not a stan of the Back to the Future. I don't know
Huh.
what it is. Good movies.
Well, the second one's not that great.
Okay.
You can skip the second one if you really want to.
It does seem like it's almost if Epcot were a shoe. It has that kind of trapped the future of as envisioned by designers in the late mid 70s that came out in the 80s or something like that.
Nike has made this shoe, has kind of turned it into a real life thing with self-tying laces and form-fitting kind of actuators in there. And they've kind of went on like a limited run, mostly to raise money for Michael J. Fox's charity of choice. I don't know if it's like the Michael J. Fox Foundation or like just a kind of a general Parkinson's related charity, but I know that they do exist in the wild, although there's kind of like kind of a warning label on this is like you're not really supposed to wear these. You're not really supposed to go try and play basketball in these things. You're kind of supposed to have someone come over and look at your shoes and be like, look at this, the $700 you paid for this shoe.
The Tinker Hellwell, or who was the Nike guy, the Nike designer who kind of did the Air Jordan, the kind of big famous dude. There was a doc where he was working on those self-tying shoes, and one of his justifications for it was athletes who lace them up to go on the court, then they sit on the bench, and the shoe is still tied really tightly and constricting their foot, and they would be much less tired at the end of the game if they had a way to release the pressure on their foot, the compression in there. So it was actually he was actually finding an actual application for it that was kind of compelling. So that's a cool one. So dudes, we're at our halftime, and I'm going to implore you, the listener, to go back, download, rate, and review past episodes. You'll see that we have done kerchiefs. We did neckties. I think we've got a fedora episode, and garters for sure. That was a two-parter.
Fingerless gloves.
Yeah. But I think magical objects or things that are found in literature are actually something that we tend to gravitate towards. And you, the listener, have that to look forward to when you go back and download, rate, and review past episodes. You can also get in the dialogue with us by getting on Instagram, getting on Twitter, getting on Facebook, and searching the Mount Rushmore podcast, and then finding us and then suggesting, wait, when you search, know that there are plenty of decoys out there. There are any kind of jamokis that decide that they want to be the Mount Rushmore podcast, and you get about 4 episodes with maybe celebrity guests, and then they stop, and we're the ones that keep going. So
we just celebrated 5 years.
5 years.
Just last week, 5 years of putting this out week after week.
Just hitting our stride, you guys. Oh my God. So many other topics to butcher, and you can suggest one for us on any of those social media sites. So now we're going to be back, and now Richard's going to let us know his third.
All right, my third choice are Talaria, otherwise known as Hermes Sandals.
Oh, right on. I thought that was the fish.
That's tilapia.
Oh, sorry. You don't want to eat Talaria.
Yeah, wouldn't want to eat those. It'd be a little gamey, I think. No, Hermes sandals, which were forged by by Hephaestus and the Cyclops, and were made specially for Hermes, who is the messenger god, and he could go really fucking fast on with these sandals.
Wow.
Which, having worn sandals enough times, makes me wonder, how do you book it with sandals?
Yeah.
Because I've tried running with sandals, and usually it winds up with me falling out square on my face.
Yeah, you just spill your drinks. Yeah, your face. Yeah.
Yeah, just flat out on the ground.
Were they made from any magical material, or were they blessed by a certain deity?
Well, they were blessed by Hephaestus.
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
What?
Who's Hephaestus?
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 You don't know who Hephaestus is? He's the Greek god of blacksmiths.
You might know him
Still
by his.
working.
You might know him by his last name, Hephaestus Saint Hubbins, of
Oh,
course.
that's right.
Forgot about that. I'm sorry. And they were also, these shoes were given to Perseus. And they
Oh.
helped him to slay Medusa. So you might remember them from Clash of the Titans.
Perseus, I think the Protean, like Proteus had a lot of swag, but Perseus had plenty of swag too. He had a shield,
Yeah.
right?
Very
And he had
shiny
a-
sealed sword.
Yeah. He had these kick-ass shoes. Didn't like in the classic era Flash have those type of shoes? Like Flash
sure.
is almost based on this guy.
Oh, like
Yeah.
a Jay Garrick version of
Yeah.
Flash. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they did. And these shoes, depending on the myth and the telling of it, perhaps he could fly with these shoes, or perhaps they just made him really fast. It's a little unclear, which is interesting because it's a fictional character. So just make up your genie mind about it.
Yeah. Is that like Superman, where in the first couple comics, the gravitational pull was so much less on Earth compared to Krypton that he could just bound places, and then by episode 3, Action Comics, he's flying.
Yeah, I
He's
think it's
picking up mountains and.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, how is this different, we think, than we've done fairy tales, and
Right.
we have done, I guess, fantasy, modern sci-fi. So this is what? This would be, is that Greek or is
Greek
that Roman?
mythology. It's Greek mythology.
Okay.
The Roman version would be Mercury.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we're covering a lot of bases here.
Yeah.
Winfield, what's your third?
We're spraying to all fields.
Yeah.
My third choice is the shoe phone from Get Smart.
Oh, nice. I love it.
Agent 86 Maxwell Adams shoe phone. Of course, it did a lot more than receive phone calls. It had like gas pellets and had other little different kind of tricks embedded in there when the story needed it. But the Get Smart was a mid 1960s television series developed by Mel Brooks and Buck Henry. And it was kind of like a satirical take on the popularity of James Bond. And Maxwell Smart was kind of this goofy, a little bumbling secret agent that was kind of always kind of had his, he was always kind of saved by Agent 99, his kind of female companion. He was a member of Control, and they fought the evil, what was it called? The evil agency, Chaos. Thank you to myself for remembering. Thank you, Brian. But in the series, he was a secret agent, so he had all these different like trick gadgets and cars and whatever, like James Bond does. But he had a phone that was just like embedded in his shoe. So he'd get a phone call, he'd have to take off his shoe and talk into the heel of his shoe. Just a real, very Mel Brooksian, very ridiculous sight. And I always enjoy, kind of a satirical take on things that have just kind of run amok. I mean, there's one thing that they haven't really done well is like a satire on like superheroes yet. Like they just, it's so ridiculous as it is. It's hard to do a real, like a Mel Brooks superhero movie would be terrible.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that there's not like the scary, whoever did like Scary Movie or Not Another Teen. I'm sure that there's like a superhero one out there that's pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mystery Men seem to be. I guess that's not.
It wasn't really a parody.
Yeah, it sure wasn't.
That was Mystery Men was based on a comic book that really existed at the time. But I just love the shoe. I just love the image of him taking off his shoe and talking into it, as if like, the Dick Tracy's of the world with his, wristwatch communicator. That wasn't simple enough.
Yeah,
you couldn't have just like, it's just silly. I love it. I love a silly.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys know that there was a a reboot of Get Smart as a TV series starring Andy Dick
No.
as
my God.
Maxwell Smart's son Zach, now
Oh,
the
God.
lead spy in Control. Surprisingly enough, it only lasted 7 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like it's a train wreck.
There were a couple writers. I listened to the Carson podcast, and they're interviewing a couple writers who wrote for mid '80s Don Adams sitcom that was a import of a British sitcom about a grocery store clerk, and this was called Check It Out, and he was a grocery store manager. But they were saying that one of the mistakes they made was that I think they filmed in a studio that was next to Santa Anita racetrack, and Don Adams just wanted to be at the racetrack all the time, so they couldn't get him to be on set. He was a cokehead, so yeah. Well, even if you watch some of the Bond films, uh, the spycraft in it is often this obtuse stuff. Like it's an airplane in a suitcase, but it takes about 20 different steps to put the airplane together, and there is some kind of stuff where you gotta pull the battery out of your ear and pull the antenna out of your other ear to put it together. So it does seem somewhat inspired by the goofy gadgetry in those shows. That Batman also came out of that. Did you know that? I've mentioned that the reason the 66 Batman series was made was because ABC couldn't get a spy show. Like they couldn't get I don't think they had Man from U.N.C.L.E. They're trying to get Dick Tracy. They couldn't get Dick Tracy. So they said, well, this guy, he's got a car, he's got gadgets, he's a detective. Let's do Batman. Like, oh my God.
Wow.
Well, okay. Manfredi, I think this is it.
Yeah, they are. So if Hermes sandals were made for running, then Nancy Sinatra's boots were damn well made for walking.
Yay.
Of course, the number one song from 1966.
And ring a ding ding, if a mobster can't get his daughter's song to be number one, what good is he?
Exactly. Not a very good dad if he can't force those. Unfortunately, it's a slammer of a song.
Yeah.
So it's whether or not there was some manipulation in the charts or who the hell knows.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great song. This great combination of Nancy Sinatra plus Lee Hazelwood.
Yeah, I was going to say
the songwriter, the noted kook songwriter and producer, who later would go off to Sweden, make albums that nobody listened to until 20 years later when Morrissey declared him a cult hero, and then everyone decided to get back on the Lee Hazelwood train. But this is one of those songs I very distinctly remember when VH1 used to have before they had VH1 Classic back in the 90s, they would run a 1 hour block of like old music videos and film performances from like the 60s and 70s. And I definitely remember These Boots Are Made for Walking video coming up a lot because it was like one of the first kind of music video looking sort of things from 66. And so just the song always stuck in my mind. It reminds me of childhood, even though it came out 10 years before I was born. But everybody knows the song. Everybody knows the bass line. And I mean, lyrically, the song is just, as I'm going to quote Tom Brehan from Stereo Gum, which if you guys are not paying attention to his the number ones column, where he basically does a review of every number one song going all the way back to 1955. Please check it out. It's basically, as he said, it's an endlessly replayable evisceration of some asshole guy who's been messing where he shouldn't have been messing. And it's great. Nancy Sinatra can't really sing. She's certainly not her father. She's arguably not even her brother. But what she can do is tell a story, and her sing talking is absolutely perfect for this song.
That's a fun choice. That was a big hit at that was the song that usually closed down the the VFW in
Mm.
Minneapolis and karaoke night.
Karaoke night, yeah.
And
Yep.
it was usually the gal behind the bar who I believe had Agent Orange or something.
Oh boy.
Not to make fun of our veterans, but she served her country, and she probably had a Purple Heart for whatever she went through. But she would had the graveliest voice, and she would get up and invite all the women in the bar to sing "These Boots Are Made for Walking," and hell hath no fury like these women who were scorned hard enough to go sing "The Boots Are Made for Walking." But yeah,
And this was originally when Lee Hazelwood wrote it. He wrote it for himself.
Mhm.
Which, if you can think about a male
Hmm.
singing this song, it just doesn't work. It sounds kind of vicious and kind of cruel and
Yeah.
and awful. But when you got like this cute girl singing it, turns into a completely different type of song.
Yeah, very empowering.
Exactly.
Yeah, very, very empowering. But disqualified. They're boots, not shoes.
Oh, I feel like
It's not
bad person.
It's not
They are
fictional footwear. It's fictional
Oh,
shoes.
well, isn't a boot a type of shoe?
Is it?
Is it? I believe it is.
I would. Oh, but if a ruby slipper is a shoe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
This feels like getting into the like is a hot dog a taco like
Yeah.
level of like discourse. It's you put it on your foot. I don't have a vote in it.
Okay.
But I think a boot's okay.
All right.
Because if we're gonna talk about like I don't know. I'm done.
Those EL Fudge guys? Are those guys in a shoe, or is that a tree? Okay. Winfield, what's your last choice?
My last shchoice is the boiled shoe eaten by the Charlie Chaplin character.
Holy shnikes.
The lone prospector in the 1925 film The Gold Rush. One of his most perfect pieces of film.
Mm-hmm.
In the film, it kind of takes place in the Yukon Gold Rush in Alaska, and it opens with like this stream, this trail of people going up into the Klondike. People covered in furs and backpacks and those big silly snowshoes that you only see like in hunting lodges nowadays. And then of course out walking along the edge of a cliff is Charlie Chaplin just waddling along as the tramp, and he goes in and out of a cave, and a bear follows him, and yada yada yada. He comes upon this cabin that is inhabited by a character named Black Larson, and he's like this really gruff, huge guy that's just wanted for murder, I believe, and hiding out in this cabin in the deepest part of Alaska. Well, another guy, Big Jim, comes along, and they get into kind of a fight, and they all kind of resolve that they're kind of waiting out the storm in this little house, this little tiny shack, one-room shack, but they have no food, and they draw straws, and eventually Black Larson, the villain, he leaves the house and ventures out. Well, the Charlie Chaplin character, he's stuck in this room with this guy, and they don't have any food. Like it's all gone. So at some point, he takes off his shoe and he boils it. And the scene that comes out of it is just this. It's like this Thanksgiving dinner presentation where he has the shoe laid out on like almost like a silver platter. I don't remember if he has like a platter top on top of it. He unveils it, and it's just like this horrible boiled black leather shoe, and he starts taking it apart and kind of dressing the shoe, and like eating like the shoelaces, kind of like licorice, and like the nails of the shoe are coming out, and they're kind of like the bones of like a chicken or like the ribs, and he starts like eating them one by one. And I think what is wonderful is like the guy that is sitting there trying to eat the shoe. He's beside himself. He can't kind of bring himself to do it. And I guess the original story was taken from the Donner Party, where they kind of boiled moccasins, like they boil their own shoes to kind of get some of the the leather softened, that they could,
Okay.
in theory, eat some form of animal that has some sort of nutritional value in there amongst all whatever. But like the most wonderful part about him eating the shoe is he's doing it so matter-of-factly. He's so conditioned in his poverty. Just like eating a shoe. It's just it's like just the thing he did. And he's like puts a little, just kind of put some salt on like a, on a nail. It's like he eats it, it's crunching. It's so wonderful. And I don't know, just he eats a shoe.
That's funny. Isn't that film also has the first, the only time I've seen a live action crossfade between when a starving person looks at another person and then imagines them to be a turkey leg briefly.
Oh yeah.
I think that happens in I've seen that only in cartoons, but not in live action. But that actually happens. Oh, that's fun. That I think rivals is a dinner roll dancing scene for comedy.
Same movie, from the same movie.
Same movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of good bits.
He's knocking them all out.
Yeah. Okay.
And the giant chicken and the the crossfaded chicken.
Was that movie made a couple times? I thought there was like a remake or something of.
So he made it in 1925, and then he kind of re-edited it in like 1942, and like redid the music for it.
Oh.
He like rewrote music, and I think that he might have added some speech to it, like a voiceover or something at the beginning. Once that you realize, oh well, I can just add a different music track to this, and it doesn't have to all be ingrained on that whatever how it was originally shot.
All right, guys, this was fun. It's tough to judge it, but I gotta say, ruby slippers, of course. I think that's great. Even though it's, I guess, a type of shoe. And let's go with because it's a new word that I learned. Teleophilus. Talaria. Meltillus. Talaria.
Meltillus. Yes.
Meltillus. So that's did I say Gold Rush?
Not yet. No, you
Gold
didn't.
Rush. Okay, so that's 3, right? And what the heck? Cinderella glass slipper. What the heck?
It's just on his brain.
Just on my brain. Can't get it off my brain. This has been. Is this our 500th episode? No, we've been in 5 years though.
Yeah.
259 by my count.
Wow. Those are the ones we know of. We're going to start re-releasing earlier episodes and just adding a vocal, changing the music on it, adding an introduction to it, like Charlie Chaplin. All right, dudes. This has been the Mount Rushmore of fictional shoes. I, as always, am Jeff.
I'm Richard.
Michael.
I love you guys. Sorry.